Ecclesiastes. Our word today is enjoy. You say, how in the world can you get the word enjoy out of Ecclesiastes? I've read it, and it doesn't seem like that's what he's up to. But it actually is. It's kind of an undercurrent of his overall message. He says a lot of other things that sound rather pessimistic as he talks about life under the sun, and that's a key phrase, under the sun. He says if you're just looking at life from sun level on down, if you're not always thinking of the one who lives above the sun, who created the sun, then life can seem pretty pointless or meaningless, or as he says in the King James language, vanity of vanities. That expression occurs about 38 times in this brief 12-chapter book of the Old Testament. It may seem like it's meaningless, but he goes beyond that. And we'll see if I can go beyond here, the blank screen. Whoops. Have I been clicking all the way to, okay, back me up. The monitor's not working. This is great for Ecclesiastes. He's better than Murphy. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. Enjoy. The teacher says the life under the sun seems meaningless. Life doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And then that gets us into our text here. Chapter 1, verses 2 through 11. Everything is meaningless, says the teacher. Completely meaningless. How'd you like to have that view of life? He says, well, looking at life, sometimes you get that feeling. What do people get for all their hard work under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises, the sun sets, and then it hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south, and then it turns north. Round and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run into the sea, but the sea is never full. And then the water returns again to the rivers and flows out again to the sea. Everything is wearisome beyond description. No matter how much we see, we are never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we're not content. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. And that's truer than we realize. We think we're living in the modern age, but a lot of the stuff we go through is just sort of a recycling, maybe under new labels and new techniques and so forth, but there's not a whole lot that's new. Sometimes people say, here's something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. We don't remember what happened in the past and the future generations. And in the future generations, no one will remember what we are doing now. You say, I want to leave a legacy. Great. Expect it to last about 1, maybe 2 generations. If you don't believe that, who was your great-grandpa? Who was your great-grandma? Now, you've only been rummaging around in the ancestry thing. If you can answer those questions, we don't remember the past, and they're not going to remember us when time moves on. So this life, he says, doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and life doesn't seem to be going right. There's just something about the direction that we're taking here. In the day of prosperity, be joyful, and in the day of adversity, consider. It says, if it's a good day, celebrate, enjoy. But if it's a bad day, consider, think about it. God has made the one as well as the other, so that man may not find out anything that will be after him. If you've been going through some bad times, he says it's time to think about it. It's time to consider here. In my vain life, I've seen everything. There is a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man who prolongs his life in his evil doing. That doesn't seem like it's going right. The good guy dies early. The bad guy just lives, past 100. How do you explain that? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem like it's going in the right direction, he says. And we see that ourselves tonight. Why in the world would the Cleveland Cavaliers even have a chance of beating the world champion Golden State Warriors and the Splash Brothers? That doesn't seem right. How do you make sense of that? And he says there's just a lot of things that don't make sense to us. That's life. It's not going anywhere. It's just in this vicious cycle. And it only seems new because we've forgotten the past. And even what we do perceive looks like it's not going the right way. Well, he says, and yet, and this is the subtext of Ecclesiastes, and yet there's another side to this seemingly meaningless life that we live. Consider. He says, consider your Creator. And that's the only time he uses that term, Creator. But it puts things in perspective. And what he's saying is, you are the creature. You're not in charge. You're not supposed to understand everything. Your Creator does. Consider Him and learn certain things. Number one, to always trust. If you don't understand, if it seems meaningless, if it doesn't seem like it's going in the right direction, consider your Creator, who knows and understands all things, who sees the overall picture, who can put the missing pieces of the puzzle together to where they do make sense. Consider that Creator and learn to trust Him when things seem meaningless or there's a mystery that you just can't understand. I've observed something else under the sun. The fastest runner doesn't always win the race. You ever seen that happen? Well, he was by far the best runner, and he got knocked out of his lane and lost the race. Or why is it this guy, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, wins the race when all the anticipated ones don't win it? The strongest warrior doesn't always win the battle. The wise sometimes go hungry, and the skillful are not necessarily wealthy. And those who are educated don't always lead successful lives. It is all decided by chance, by being in the right place at the right time. There are some who have the philosophy that everything is planned out and that God is sovereign, that everything that's going to happen is going to happen. God is sovereign, but there's also time and chance happen to everyone, the wise man here says. He's the unconventional wisdom. If you read Proverbs, that's conventional wisdom. And you have general truths there that are nearly always true. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart. That's conventional wisdom. That's generally true. Ecclesiastes says, wait a minute. I know exceptions to that. And I think it's true that you can have godly parents who raise scoundrels. They did all the right things, and the kids are doing all the wrong things. You have wise advice in Proverbs, and in Ecclesiastes, you have otherwise advice. There's exceptions to every rule. And so he says time and chance are part of this makeup. Well, I don't understand it. I want to understand it. That's not our job to understand. Our job is to trust when we don't understand. Think about Job. Job wanted an explanation. He had some so-called friends who told him exactly why things were going south for him. God never explained to Job. Job said, though he kill me, I'll still trust him. And he got rid of some of Job's problems by going after his friends. He says, you guys need to get quiet, and I'll forgive you if you'll get Job to pray for you. How's that for comeuppance? They had all the answers, all the explanations. Here's why this bad stuff is happening. We see it in the New Testament. The disciples come to Jesus and said, who sinned, this man or his parents, because he was born blind? There must be some logical explanation to this, and we have to understand why such a bad thing has happened to him. There's somebody at fault here. Let me explain it to you. Jesus didn't go into explanations. He said, let's do something to help the man. He moved in with compassion, and he trusts that God works in all circumstances, good, bad, or indifferent, to bring about something good. That's what we trust. That's where he wants to get us, not so that we understand why this happened, why this mass shooting in Orlando. I don't know. But we move in with compassion. Why did a little 2-year-old boy get snatched at Disney World, the happiest place on the planet, by an alligator? Well, who's at fault here? We want explanations. We want to understand this. Shouldn't Disney have warned these parents? Or shouldn't those parents? They're at fault because they weren't taking better care and better watch of a toddler. It's not our job to always have explanations. Some things just happen. And we don't have to understand, but what we do, God wants to draw us through all circumstances to trust him that he can and will work something good, even out of tragedies, even out of bad circumstances. And Jesus said about healing that blind man, we're here to do the works of God. Whatever the circumstance, we can work the works of God so that God will be glorified and bring some light into the situation. Just as you cannot understand the path of the wind or the mystery of a tiny baby growing in its mother's womb, so you cannot understand the activity of God, who does all things. And I like this passage from chapter 3. He has made everything beautiful in its time. It may look ugly now. It may look like it's a puzzle now. But he's working on the tapestry from above where he can see the plan better than we can from below here. And he's made it beautiful in its time, and it'll be revealed in his time. He's also set eternity in the human heart. He's given us an itch that we can't scratch. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. We don't know what God's up to. We know he's up to good. But the specifics of that and how he's going to bring about it, Ecclesiastes says, I don't have a clue. But the important thing is I trust that he's good and that he will work a good conclusion to this. Secondly here, consider your Creator and learn to live always responsibly. Trust in the one who created us. Learn to live before him responsibly. We are accountable. Young people, it's a wonderful thing to be young. Enjoy every minute of it. Do everything you want to do. Take it in, take it all in. You say, I'd never tell my kid that. They might take it to the extreme, they might. But what he's saying is, but remember that you must give an account to God for everything you do. When we consider our Creator, and he wants us to enjoy, but he also wants us to enjoy responsibly, with integrity, with honesty, because we are accountable to him. Don't let the excitement of youth cause you to forget your Creator. Honor him in your youth before you grow old and say, life is not pleasant anymore. If you remember your Creator now, life will be more pleasant when you get to be a septuagenarian. And I are one. For those of you who didn't do well in math, that's 70. 70 plus. And the scripture says the days of our time here on earth are 70. That's 70. So my time's up. You say, well, you look a little better preserved than that. I read a description of codger this morning. And there are some who believe that that's an abbreviation for coffin dodger. And so far, it's gone pretty good. I've been dodging the coffin. But life is good. Life is pleasant. And I enjoy life. Not quite as exuberantly as I used to, but it's good because the Creator is good. And He wants us to remember Him and to live responsibly. And when you live responsibly, there's more enjoyment. Yes, remember your Creator now while you're young, before the silver cord of life snaps and the golden bowl is broken. Don't wait until the water jar is smashed at the spring and the pulley is broken at the well. If you don't understand that, before you die. Okay, that's a poetic way of saying it. And we all face that. Remember your Creator now. For then the dust will return to the earth, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. So learn to live responsibly for Him. That's the whole story. Here now is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey His commands, for this is everyone's duty. Duty is not one of those words that we like these days because it sounds too restricting. But we have a duty to love one another. We have a duty to show consideration to one another. I remember one time talking to a couple several years ago before they got married. And we were reading 1 Corinthians chapter 7, where it says the husband must realize that his body's not his own. It belongs to his wife. And she must realize that her body's not her own. It belongs to her husband. And he says you have this obligation, you have this duty sexually to one another. And the young man said, well, I never thought of that as a duty. The sexual relationship didn't sound like a duty to him. He was, if it was, reporting for duty. So I said to him, maybe, and it kind of caught me off guard. But the Lord helped out here and said, I said to him, well, maybe you should consider it a duty first and a pleasure second. Because when we look at it, first of all, as a pleasure, if it seems like a pleasurable thing to me, whether it seems that way to you or not, doesn't matter. Seeing duty first will create pleasure, but if you see it first as pleasure, that may soon be gone. It'll be ruined, and the pleasure will be gone itself. We have this duty to obey God and keep His commands. We have this duty to one another to show love and consideration. God will judge us for everything we do, including every secret thing, whether good or bad. So we have this responsibility to live as accountable human beings before God. And then our final one here, consider your Creator and learn to always enjoy. Learn to enjoy every day. And don't look for the big time events to enjoy. Look for joy in even the small things. If you can find joy in the small things, you'll have no trouble finding it elsewhere as well. Look at the passages at the bottom of your outline. Several passages there talks about what we can find enjoyment in. Chapter 2, so I decided there is nothing better than to enjoy food and drink. Do you enjoy your food and drink? Or do you just kind of wolf it down going through the drive-thru because it's quicker? When you eat, Chew. Swirl it around. Savor the taste. Ah. When you drink, enjoy. No gulping. We had milkshakes, and I had an orange freeze last night with our good neighbor. And she just seemed to enjoy that so much. Doing it slowly, ritually. Ah, how good this is. We're going to do that again. It's going to get hot. And I can focus on this week and how hot it's going to be, or I can focus on milkshake time. Ah, milkshakes taste better as the weather goes up. The hotter it is, the better that freeze is going to taste. If you want to watch, come over. We'll make an appointment, We'll let you see enjoyment. That's what the wise man is saying. Enjoy your food and drink and find satisfaction in your work. Oh, no. I got a slave driver as a boss. I can't enjoy my work. You don't realize I'm a pest control guy. I go looking for rats. And I go out to the prison looking for rats. And there's bad news people in the workplace. See a happy man right back here going after rats? Enjoy your work. You spend a third of your life working. And if you don't enjoy your work, you're messing your life up. That's where joy is to be found, in your work. Then I realized that these pleasures are from the hand of God, for who can eat or enjoy anything apart from Him? If He provides food, even on Father's Day when everybody's wanting to get out of here and beat the Baptists to the good restaurants, rein it in. You can enjoy it at a measured pace when the time is here. If we don't find enjoyment in the little things, we're probably not going to enjoy our meaningless vanity of vanities here. But Ecclesiastes says you can. That's unconventional wisdom, but it's true. Chapter 3, so I concluded there is nothing better than to be happy and enjoy ourselves as long as we can. And people should eat and drink and enjoy the fruits of their labor, for these are gifts from God. He wants you to enjoy. Eat up moderately. Drink up moderately. Gifts from the hand of God. I've seen what is best for people here on earth, chapter 5. They should eat and drink and enjoy their work. You see a thing being repeated here? He keeps telling us, enjoy eating and drinking and working. Enjoy your spouse. They should eat and drink and enjoy their work because the life God has given them on earth is short. God gives some people the ability to enjoy the wealth and property He gives them, as well as the ability to accept their state in life and enjoy their work. They do not worry about how short life is because God keeps them busy with what they love to do. He says these people who are enjoying every day don't even recognize how short their life is and how meaningless and vain it is. They're too wrapped up with the joy that God gives them every day to think about, my time's up. Finally, in chapter 8, so I think we should get as much out of life as we possibly can. There's nothing better than to enjoy our food and drink and to have a good time. And then we can make it through this troublesome life that God has given us here on earth. Why does He do that? Why does He give me these problems? I don't know. But I trust Him that He's working good in every circumstance. And I want to live with enjoyment responsibly before Him. I want to partake of the everyday pleasures. There's nothing more a part of a day than eating and drinking and working and relating to others. Wednesday night, I've mentioned we've had some new folks here. Janie Wilcox, who's part of a Bible study group that Stella and some of the others have been part of, was here with her two little ones. And there are going to be some others from that Bible study group that will come on Wednesday night. If you're not part of that, I'm sorry. It's part of my enjoyment of the week. I really look forward to that. And part of the reason is because of the little ones. You say, well, the little ones are noisy. Parents should have better control of the kids. Maybe. But can you enjoy them anyway? I'll tell you a little thing that I enjoyed Wednesday night. The big pickup truck that Janie was in drove up. Her two little ones bounce out of the pickup. The Gutierrez kids see them over there, and about 3 of them start running like crazy. And the littlest one, Samira, hollers out, "Junebug!" The little girl's name is June, and the nickname is Junebug. She was so happy to see her friend. An adult, one definition is it's just an adult is an obsolete child. I never want to outgrow being a child. And you're thinking, well, don't worry, Ron, you're never going to mature. But Ecclesiastes says you can enjoy if you trust God, if you live responsibly. And that if you look for joy in the simple pleasures, not the guilty pleasures, the godly pleasures that He gives us every day. If you need to respond, would you do so while we stand and sing?
Be